Welcome to Introduction to Research, Part 1, Before You Begin. In the Introduction to Research series, we're going to cover 3 parts. Part 1, Before You Begin. What do I need to do before I really get into the details of my research in order to make sure that I'm researching most effectively? Part 2, we're going to look at how do I evaluate these sources that I'm finding to figure out whether they're appropriate for my assignment or not. In Part 3, we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of how do I actually go about locating resources. So the scope of the Introduction to Research series is really electronic resources. However, there are many other types of resources that are available to you. For print books, newspapers, magazines, and many other types of resources, please visit the libraries on either the Bronx or the New Rochelle campus. Prior to visiting the library, you can check out the online catalog in order to see whether the particular resource that you might want to look at will be available for you when you arrive. In order to learn more about the libraries, go to the Monroe College main page at www.monroecollege.edu. From the main page, put your mouse over Academics and then click on Libraries under the Academic Resources column. From the library's page, I can find out more information about the library's locations and hours. I can also find the link for the library online catalog, MOCAT. And this is where I can search online prior to visiting the library to find out the availability about particular resources. Okay, so before you really get into your research, you want to make sure that you really understand your assignment. I know that seems obvious, but you're not going to be able to research effectively unless you understand the requirements that you have. So some questions you can ask yourself are, what types of resources am I supposed to use? Am I supposed to use scholarly, academic, peer-reviewed resources? And if you're not sure what those terms mean, that's okay. In Part 2 of Introduction to Research, we're going to talk a little bit more about what some of those terms mean. Another question I can ask myself is, how current do my resources need to be? Do they need to be published within the last 5 years? Within the last 10 years? Do I have a requirement? I can also ask myself, how many resources am I supposed to use? Do I have a minimum number of resources that I'm supposed to use? And finally, do I understand the overall instructions for my assignment? If you don't, that's okay. Just make sure you clarify with your professor. Okay, background research. Background research is what you're going to do prior to really getting into your actual research. It's a very brief phase at the beginning. So background research is going to help you learn more about the terminology, the people, groups, dates, events that are related to your topic. This information is going to help you search more effectively for your resources. Usually we come to our topic with maybe a couple of words in mind, a particular phrase, but there's so many different ways that different people talk about our topic. We want to make sure that we understand that language in order to search more effectively going forward. In addition to helping us research going forward, background research is also going to help us decide whether our topic is feasible. So it's going to help me figure out, okay, is my topic too broad for this particular assignment? Is there really too much to cover within a semester's length of time? I know a semester seems like a very long time, but truly you're not going to be working on your assignment for the entire semester. A lot of your semester is going to be dedicated towards learning the objectives of the course, the principles, and then applying it to a final project. So is my topic possibly too broad for this particular project? Or on the flip side, is my topic too specific? Is it not going to really be enough material for me to have a robust discussion and examination of the topic for the requirements of the assignment? So as I'm doing my background research, this gives me the opportunity to revise my topic as needed. That's very appropriate and a good use of background research. Also, background research is going to help me develop or further revise my thesis statement or the argument that I'm making. Most of us come to a topic and we have kind of an idea of what we would argue regarding the topic, but you may find as you continue to research more, you're going to understand your topic in new ways, and you may actually really need to change your position on the topic based on the evidence, the data that you're looking at. Revising your thesis statement is also a good use of background research. So the resources that you find during background research may not necessarily be the ones that you use on your reference list on your assignment. You really need to check your assignment requirements to make sure that your resources that are listed on your reference list meet your assignment requirements. Okay, so during the background research phase, this is really one of the few times that you want to just Google it. Again, because we're just trying to get familiar with the topic and figure out some terminology, some events, some people, some places that are related to this topic. So let's say I'm researching the BP oil spill. So if I search for just BP oil spill in Google, I get several different hits. Let's say I click on the Deepwater Horizon oil spill entry on Wikipedia. Okay, so from this entry, I'm going to learn a lot of new terminology. I searched for BP oil spill, but now I'm learning terminology like Deepwater Horizon oil spill, or the Gulf of Mexico oil spill, or the Macondo blowout. Maybe I'll want to use terminology related to some of the cleanup efforts like oil dispersant or controlled burns. Maybe I want to use additional organizations, not just BP, but perhaps Transocean or Halliburton. So now I have a lot more language that I can use when I'm searching in order to search more robustly about my topic. Wikipedia is an excellent source for background research, but Wikipedia should never appear on your reference list. Wikipedia in and of itself is not an authoritative resource for you to use, but it can help you just kind of learn the topic and learn the terminology a little bit better. And we can talk more later about how you can use Wikipedia most effectively in order to help it lead you to other sources that are authoritative. So I'm not going to just leave it at that. I'm going to continue in my background research to look at some additional links to see, okay, what else might I want to look at in order to learn a little bit more about my topic. And as I'm doing this background research, I'm starting to collect this terminology, these events, these dates. And you can see, for example, from my background research on this topic, I've learned a lot of new language. Oil rig, floating booms. I've learned some specific locations that I may want to target with Louisiana and specifically the Gulf of Mexico. Maybe I want to target particular industries that are related to this topic, such as the fishing or the tourism industry. Or maybe if I'm looking at it from more of a health perspective, maybe I'm going to look into the health effects of the workers that were helping with the cleanup. So I have a lot of different terminology that I can use and a lot of different subtopics that I may want to research as well. Okay, in Introduction to Research Part 2, we're going to move on to looking at how do I actually evaluate a source now that I've found it.